Hello, and welcome to the Advanced Controls tutorial for the Efexio app. With these controls, your Efexio enhanced videos and photos will look even more realistic. Let's start with the light color controls. There are three parts to the control. At the top, there is a square showing the current color. Below that is a color selection matrix, and below that there's an intensity slider. With these controls, you can select any color to apply as a light for your effect. Let's try changing it to red and see what happens. Note that the whole penguin didn't turn red uniformly. The main light has a fall off and is directional. If we increase the intensity, it will become more uniform as we saturate the light. Let's reset the lights by tapping Cancel and then tapping on the light color tile again. Fill light is the natural light that is in a scene. The fill lighting controls within Efexio allow you to match the ambient light in your effect to your video. Scroll down to get the fill light controls. Suppose we want our penguin to have a red tint. Drag the dot in the color selection matrix so it turns the color square red. Now adjust the intensity by dragging the slider to the right. Now we have a red penguin. Note that the penguin looks like he's actually emitting light. That's because all the light around him has become red. Now let's make him green. Now he's a green penguin. To go back to a more natural color, drag the color selector dot to the far lower left. Let's lower the intensity a bit. And he's back to normal. Lighting adjustments are all about nuance, and with these two controls you can match colors with a variety of environments. Photos and videos of sunsets, green jungles, and deserts are all places where lighting adjustment can help. Now let's tap Cancel to cancel the light color adjustments. Now let's look at the shadow controls. Shadows are normally adjusted with the light direction control. Select that now to see how it works. The control consists of a ball with a dot on it. Dragging over the ball rolls it. The dot represents where the light is coming from. Where the dot is bright, it is facing you. When it becomes dim, it is facing away. The shadows in our effect that are cast reflect this orientation. Tap Cancel to discard our changes. Now let's adjust the shadows themselves. Select the Shadow tile. Depending on cloud cover, environment, and other factors, lighting can change. The Shadow control allows you to blur the lighting around the edge of a shadow as well as its transparency. Drag the Blur slider to the right to see this. Now drag the Lightness slider to change the shadow's transparency. If you drag the Lightness slider all the way to the left, the shadow will disappear. Select Cancel to reset the effect. We can also adjust the shadow color. This is useful in situations where an effect's shadow needs to match the environment. Select Shadow Color to adjust this. The controls are the same as for the other lighting. Let's make our penguin cast a blue shadow. First, let's increase the shadow intensity. If it's set too low, the app will let you know that it won't have any effect. Now drag the color selector to blue. And we have a blue shadow. Select Cancel to reset the shadow color. Blending an effect into a scene is also a useful control. You can adjust both saturation and contrast. Select Blend control. Drag the saturation slider to the right to increase the color saturation of our effect. Contrast can also be adjusted with the contrast slider. Tap Cancel to reset. Sometimes you need to adjust the color of the entire effect uniformly. You can do this with a color cast adjustment. To see this in action, select the color cast tile. Now drag the intensity control to the right and adjust the color. Note how it affects the entire effect, including the shadows. Tap Cancel to reset the settings. Blurring an effect can also make it seem more real. Select the Blur tile to see this. Drag the slider to the right to see the effect become more blurry. Tap Cancel to exit. Next is the angle of view. This is best seen with the 3D guides turned on, so first let's turn those on. Select the Size tile and turn on the 3D guides. Tap OK. Now go to the angle of view icon. Slide the setting to see how the perspective changes. Using the 3D guides with the angle of view is a great way to match perspectives with particular photos and videos. Tap Cancel to reset the angle of view. And let's turn off the 3D guides. Next is Camera Roll. This does exactly what it says, it rolls the camera. Select the Camera Roll tile and drag the slider to the right to see this. You can drag it all the way to the left to restore the camera. Sometimes photos and videos have haze or fog. Efexio can match this with a fog adjuster. This is also great for making things look very large or very far away. Select it by tapping on the fog tile. In addition to the standard color controls, there is a density slider. Drag that to the right to see it in action. The other controls adjust the color of the fog. Note that the shadow is unaffected. Tap Cancel to reset the fog settings. Next is the sound control. Audio and videos can sometimes interfere with the audio and Efexio effects. You can adjust the levels of both here. Tap on the sound tile to see the controls. You can adjust the effect sound with the top slider and the background sound of your video with the bottom slider. There are situations where we may want to have multiple instances of an effect in the same scene. For this, there is a layers adjustment. Tap on the layers tile now to see it in action. Tap Add to add a layer. The effect will look a little different. Drag it to the left. Now we have two penguins. The current layer can be selected with a selector at the bottom of the Layers control panel. Tap OK. Now hit play. Both penguins will walk in perfect synchronization. We can also scrub the timeline. To adjust our currently selected penguin's timeline, we can go to the Sync and Trim setting. Let's do that now. Adjust the top bar to change the currently selected penguin's animation. Tap OK. Now hit play. The penguins are no longer in sync. The currently selected effect can also have rotation and movement applied to it. If we turn on 3D guides, you can see both effects within those as well. Let's do that. Now let's turn them off. Finally, there's a custom setting for some effects. Let's load an effect which has this. Tap the dino head to go to the Effect Selection menu and select the baby dragon. And tap on the wrench and go to the Custom Setting tile. Here you can see all sorts of interesting settings. We can make our dragon breathe fire or smoke, adjust its skin color, and even change its skin style. Tap OK and hit play. Currently our dragon is breathing fire. Let's change that. We'll go to the custom setting and select smoke and hit OK. Now when he breathes, it's smoke and not fire. If we go to the custom setting again, we can also change the dragon's color. This is a different control than the lighting settings we have played with before. We can also change the dragon's skin. There are two more settings that you should be aware of that have to do with image stabilization. You will need to go to the main startup menu to access these. The settings are turn gyro match motion off and turn scan match motion on. Gyro match motion is turned on by default and is used by Efexio anytime you record a video within it, instead of loading one. It uses the internal gyroscope on your device to match the orientation of the effect to the video. It's best to leave it on. If you're loading a video that was taken outside of Efexio that's shaky, you can turn on the Scan Match Motion. Scan Match Motion will take time to analyze the video in order to match the effect's motion to it. Now let's apply some of our newfound knowledge to adjust an effect. Here we have a T-Rex in a nighttime scene. So first let's rotate him so he's facing the light. Move a bit closer. Then we'll adjust the light direction so it's facing him from the front. We want to get about the same angle of the shadows that you see coming off the light sources coming through the other objects. Now we'll adjust the shadows, make them a little bit blurry and a little bit lighter. Now I think we need to make the light more intense. And you're done. Now let's try putting our T-Rex in a more bright situation. Here the light is muted. It's not direct sunlight, and so we're going to have to mess with the shadows a bit. So first let's rotate him so that he is in the right orientation, and we'll position him here, and then we'll adjust the lighting, then we'll adjust the light direction. The light is it's almost noon, so we'll make it like that. And then we will adjust the shadow blurriness. Because there's a lot of clouds, the shadows are a bit muted and blurry. Notice that when you make the shadows softer, it also makes the shadows on the T-Rex itself softer. Okay, then we'll go and adjust the main light. We're going to make it a bit intense. And the fill light, we'll increase that. And now we'll adjust the fog. Like that. Now, what's interesting is if I move this T-Rex away from myself here, and I move it behind those cones, it looks a lot bigger, which is kind of an interesting effect. If I change the fog, I can make it look even more massive. It's sort of like it's so big that the fog begins to have an effect on your vision. And then we'll also adjust the color a little bit. It's a bit yellow to match the dirt. And we're done. A key part of making effects real is adjusting the timing of the video and the effect. To do this, we will examine the sync and trim settings in more detail. To sync, play the video until you come to the part where you want to sync the effect to the video. In this case, it's when they first see the dinosaur. Now tap on the sync and trim icon. The interface is a timeline with 3 adjustable parts. The top bar represents the effect's timeline. The 2 squares on the sides of the bottom bar represent the beginning and ending of our video. The red line represents the current frame between the 2 timelines. Drag the top bar until our effect is where we want it to be at that time in the video. Select OK, and we'll hit play. You can also adjust the length of the video by adjusting the left and right bars in the trim. Adjusting the bars will also affect how the effect will show up as the video starts and ends. If you make the video longer than the effect will stop before the end of the video. If you make the video start before the effect will not play until it's ready to run in the timeline. As an example of this, let's do that. We'll rewind, go to sync and trim, and we'll move the effect this way. Now the effect will not move until the timeline reaches the point where it starts to play. Let's go and change that back. And the final result. The Efexio app also has the ability to record video in both portrait and landscape modes. These modes are selected automatically depending on the orientation of your device. Let's try a landscape mode recording. We start off by holding the iPhone normally, so the video is in portrait mode. Now if we turn it sideways, the app will automatically select landscape mode. We'll turn the screen in the orientation you would see it on your device. Tapping record will begin recording in landscape mode. When recording is done, the app will revert to portrait mode, but will keep the video in landscape mode for display. The output of the video will also be in landscape mode. The other benefit of recording within the Efexio app is gyroscopic stabilization. The iPhone has a sensor that the Efexio app uses to stabilize effects within videos. This stabilization information is only saved when the video is recorded within Efexio. As we see our penguin walk, you'll notice that even though the camera is moving slightly, the penguin effect tracks it. Without this ability, the effect would appear to skate around, as the video would move independently of the effect. Scaling, rotation, and movement all work with gyroscopic stabilization as well, so you can do all your effect settings normally. After making our adjustments, we can save the video. And this is the final result, a landscape format video with our effect. Thanks for watching.